United States history. Around 1800 AD. Part 1. Wyoming. Pre-1800s, Wyoming was home to Native American tribes like the Arapaho, Cheyenne, Crow, Shoshone, and Sioux, who relied on buffalo herds for survival. Indiana. 1800, Indiana Territory established, with William Henry Harrison as governor. Louisiana. 1800, in the secret Treaty of San Ildefonso, Spain returned Louisiana to France under Napoleon. Oklahoma. 1800, Oklahoma transferred back to France. District of Columbia. 1800, federal government moves from Philadelphia to D.C. President John Adams is the first to live in the White House. Virginia. 1801 to 1825, Virginia Dynasty. 3 of next 4 presidents from Virginia: Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, James Monroe. Connecticut. 1802, the brass industry began in Waterbury. Delaware. 1802, Eleuthère Irénée du Pont founded DuPont, a gunpowder mill that became a chemical giant. Ohio. March 1, 1803, Ohio becomes the 17th state, though statehood wasn't formally ratified until 1953. Louisiana. April 30, 1803, Louisiana Purchase. U.S. purchased Louisiana Territory from France for $15 million, doubling the nation's size. December 20, 1803, Louisiana Purchase. Formal transfer ceremony in New Orleans. Arkansas. 1803, the Louisiana Purchase transferred Arkansas to the U.S., integrating it into the Missouri Territory. Colorado. 1803, the Louisiana Purchase transfers eastern Colorado to the U.S. Illinois. 1803, Fort Dearborn built in Chicago, Kaskaskia Indians cede lands to the U.S. Iowa. 1803, Iowa became part of the U.S. via the Louisiana Purchase, though native tribes like the Sauk, Meskwaki, and Iowa dominated the region. Kansas. 1803, Kansas became part of the U.S. via the Louisiana Purchase. Massachusetts. 1803, Middlesex Canal, first U.S. commercial canal, opens. Missouri. 1803, Missouri became U.S. territory via the Louisiana Purchase. Montana. 1803, Montana became part of the U.S. via the Louisiana Purchase. North Dakota. 1803, Louisiana Purchase brings region under U.S. control. Oklahoma. 1803, Louisiana Purchase made Oklahoma U.S. territory. South Dakota. 1803, acquired by U.S. in Louisiana Purchase. Wyoming. 1803, Wyoming becomes part of the U.S. via the Louisiana Purchase. Alaska. 1804, Battle of Sitka, Russians defeat the Tlingit, securing control over southeast Alaska. Missouri. 1804, Lewis and Clark launched their expedition from St. Louis. Nebraska. 1804, Lewis and Clark expedition camped near Omaha, meeting Oto and Missouri tribes. New Jersey. 1804, New Jersey is the last northern state to abolish slavery gradually. South Dakota. 1804, Lewis and Clark passed through, meeting Lakota at Vermilion River. North Dakota. 1804 to 1806, Lewis and Clark expedition winters at Fort Mandan, 1804 to 1805, meeting Sakakawea. Idaho. 1805, Lewis and Clark enter Idaho via Lemhi Pass, guided by Sacagawea, Shoshone. Michigan. 1805, Michigan Territory is created. Detroit burns in a fire. William Hull becomes first governor. Minnesota. 1805. Lieutenant Zebulon Pike signs treaties with Dakota for land near Fort Snelling. Vermont. 1805. Montpelier becomes the capital. Montana. 1805 to 1806. The Lewis and Clark expedition traversed Montana, documenting flora, fauna, and tribes. Oregon. 1805 to 1806. The Lewis and Clark expedition winters at Fort Clatsop, documenting Oregon's resources. Washington. 1805 to 1806. Lewis and Clark expedition reaches the Pacific via the Columbia River. Colorado. 1806. Zebulon Pike explores Colorado, mapping Pike's Peak before being captured by Spanish forces. Connecticut. 1806. Noah Webster published his first important American English dictionary. Massachusetts. 1806. African Meeting House, first church built by free blacks in America, opens in Boston. Montana. 1806. Clark left an inscription at Pompey's Pillar, the only physical evidence of their journey. Wyoming. 1807. John Coulter, a Lewis and Clark expedition member, explores Yellowstone and reports geothermal features, dubbing it Coulter's Hell. Iowa. 1808. Fort Madison was built. New Hampshire. 1808. Concord becomes the permanent state capital. Idaho. 1809. Kalispell House, Idaho's first trading post, built by David Thompson, British, near Lake Pend Oreille. Illinois. 1809. Illinois Territory organized. Ninian Edwards becomes governor. Kentucky. 1809. Abraham Lincoln is born in Hodgenville. Connecticut. 1810. Hartford Fire Insurance Company was founded. Hawaii. 1810. Kauai and Niihau peacefully submit, unifying the Kingdom of Hawaii. Idaho. 1811. Wilson Price Hunt, Astor Expedition, explores Snake River Valley. Indiana. 1811. Battle of Tippecanoe. Harrison defeats Shawnee leader Tecumseh, breaking Native American resistance. Louisiana. 1811. Charles Dessalines led a major slave revolt in Louisiana's German coast. Oregon. 1811. John Jacob Astor establishes Fort Astoria, the first permanent U.S. settlement. Washington. 1811. David Thompson navigates the entire Columbia River for Britain. Wyoming. 1811 to 1812. The Astor Expedition, led by Wilson Price Hunt, crosses Wyoming, followed by Robert Stewart's party, which discovers South Pass, a critical route for the Oregon Trail. Louisiana. April 30, 1812. Louisiana admitted as the 18th U.S. state. California. 1812. Russian traders founded Fort Ross in Northern California, expanding fur trade. Illinois. 1812. Fort Dearborn Massacre. Potawatomi kill 52 during the War of 1812. Missouri. 1812. Missouri Territory was established. North Dakota. 1812. Pembina becomes first permanent European settlement. Michigan. 1812 to 1813. War of 1812. British retake Detroit. Americans reclaim it after the Battle of Lake Erie. Ohio. 1812 to 1815. War of 1812. Ohio battles. Tennessee. 1812 to 1815. Tennessee earns volunteer state, nicknamed during War of 1812. Alabama. August 30th, 1813. Creek War, part of War of 1812. Fort Mims Massacre. Delaware. 1813. Lewis was bombarded by the British during the War of 1812. Indiana. 1813. Territorial capital moves to Corydon. Ohio. 1813. Battle of Lake Erie, led by Commodore Oliver Perry. Alabama. March 27, 1814. Creek War, part of War of 1812. Andrew Jackson defeated Red Stick Creeks at Horseshoe Bend. Alabama. August 9, 1814. Creek War, part of War of 1812. Treaty of Fort Jackson forced Creeks to cede 23 million acres. Maryland. 1814. War of 1812. British forces burned Washington, D.C., but failed to capture Baltimore. The defense of Fort McHenry inspired Francis Scott Key to write The Star-Spangled Banner. District of Columbia. 1814. War of 1812. British burned D.C., White House and Capitol destroyed. Louisiana. 1815. Andrew Jackson defeated British forces in the Battle of New Orleans, fought after the War of 1812 had technically ended. Tennessee. 1815. Andrew Jackson wins Battle of New Orleans. Indiana. December 11, 1816. Indiana becomes the 19th state. Jonathan Jennings is first governor. Mississippi. December 10, 1817. Mississippi becomes the 20th U.S. state, with Natchez as its first capital. Alabama. 1817. Alabama Territory created from Mississippi Territory with St. Stephen's as capital. Connecticut. 1817. Thomas Gallaudet established the first permanent school for the deaf in Hartford. Michigan. 1817. University of Michigan founded in Detroit. South Dakota. 1817 to 1850s. Fur trade dominated by American Fur Company, John Jacob Astor. Fort Pierre Chouteau became a key outpost. Illinois. December 3, 1818. Illinois becomes the 21st state. Shadrach Bond is first governor. Alabama. 1818. First territorial legislature met. Cahaba designated as future state capital. Florida. 1818. Andrew Jackson invades Florida during the First Seminole War, burning villages and capturing Spanish forts. Kentucky. 1818. Jackson Purchase expands Kentucky's western border. Tennessee. 1818. Chickasaw cede West Tennessee lands. Oregon. 1818. U.S. and Britain agree to joint occupation of the Oregon Country. Alabama. December 14, 1819. Alabama admitted as 22nd state. 1819. Constitutional Convention in Huntsville. Arkansas. 1819. Arkansas Territory was created, with James Miller as its first governor and Robert Crittenden as secretary. The Arkansas Gazette, founded by William E. Woodruff, became the territory's first newspaper. Hawaii. 1819. After Kamehameha I's death, his wife Queen Kahumanu and son Liholiho, Kamehameha II, abolished the kapu system. Nebraska. 1819. Fort Atkinson, first U.S. military post west of Missouri River, established. Massachusetts. 1820. Maine separates from Massachusetts to become 23rd state. Maine. March 15, 1820. Maine became the 23rd state under the Missouri Compromise, balancing free and slave states. William King, a Bath shipbuilder, became Maine's first governor. Alabama. 1820. First steamboat, Harriet, reached Montgomery, opening river trade. Arkansas. 1820. The Quapaw Treaty forced Native Americans to cede central Arkansas lands, accelerating white settlement. Hawaii. 1820. American Protestant missionaries, e.g., Hiram Bingham, arrive, introducing Christianity and Western education. Missouri. 1820. The Missouri Compromise allowed Missouri to enter as a slave state alongside Free State Maine. Key figure, Thomas Hart Benton, a pro-expansion U.S. Senator. Missouri. August 10, 1821. Missouri becomes 24th state. Arizona. 1821. Arizona became part of independent Mexico after the Mexican War of Independence. Arkansas. 1821. Little Rock was designated the capital. California. 1821. California became part of Mexico after its independence from Spain. Ranchos, cattle ranches, dominated the economy. Colorado. 1821. The Santa Fe Trail opens, bringing traders and settlers through southeastern Colorado. Florida. 1821. Florida becomes a U.S. territory via the Adams-Onis Treaty. Jackson serves as its first governor. Kansas. 1821. The Santa Fe Trail opened, crossing Kansas, boosting trade with Mexico. Nevada. 1821. Nevada became part of independent Mexico after the Mexican War of Independence. New Mexico. 1821. Mexico gained independence from Spain. New Mexico became a Mexican province. Santa Fe Trail opened by William Becknell, linking Missouri to New Mexico for trade. Texas. 1821. Mexico gained independence from Spain. Texas became part of Mexico. Utah. 1821. Utah became part of Mexico after its independence from Spain. Alaska. 1821 to 1867. Decline of the fur trade and Russian interest in Alaska due to overhunting and financial struggles. Mississippi. 1822. Capital moved to Jackson. Texas. 1823. Stephen F. Austin brought 300 Anglo families to colonize Texas under Mexican law. Vermont. 1823. Alexander Twilight becomes the first African American to earn a college degree, Middlebury College. New Jersey. 1824. First U.S. ferry service opens between Hoboken and Manhattan. Utah. 1824. Jim Bridger, a fur trapper, discovered the Great Salt Lake, mistaking it for the Pacific Ocean. Wyoming. 1824. South Pass is rediscovered by Thomas Fitzpatrick and Jedediah Smith, opening the West to wagon traffic. Oregon. 1824 to 1840. The Hudson's Bay Company, led by Dr. John McLaughlin, dominates trade from Fort Vancouver.